courtyard of the castle, you saw about 4 identified graves. And amongst the 4 graves, the one that is at the far end with wreath on it, happens to be for a Ghanaian who was born here in Cape Coast. The father happens to be a slave merchant, supplying African captives to Europeans in the castle. But whenever the father came around, he realized the Europeans have been educating their children here. And these were children they were having with African women all over the place. Mixed breeds. So he also decided, what do I have to do? Let me bring my son for him to be educated. He brought the son. Other African merchants also did the same. But in the year 1753, Reverend Thomas Thompson, the person in charge of the school and the Anglican church in the castle, made a very firm decision, sending 3 African boys on a scholarship to England. Why did he do it? Whenever Europeans came in, they were dying rapidly. So by them dying, all of these priests, why not send some Africans there to be trained? They come here, they'll stay here, they work for longer years than the Europeans that will come and die. So when he sent them, a few years later, Thomas and William died. It was only Philip Kweku that survived. Philip Kweku went through Oxford University, studying theology and education. And 24 years he graduated. When he graduated, he was ordained the first black African Anglican priest. And he was brought back to this castle at the age of 25. He came to Cape Coast Castle and worked in this castle, in the church that sits on top of the men's dungeon, until he died at the age of 75 on the 17th of October, 1816. And as I told you earlier, slave trade actually ended 1833. What am I trying to say? All I'm trying to say is if you look at the years, you realize Philip Kweku wasn't fighting against slave trade. Because all of the forts and castles built along the coast of West Africa, he is the only African that has been buried in any of them. So that tells you how important he was to the Europeans. He was on their side. But then, every 17th of October, Anglican schools and churches here in Cape Coast, they come together and celebrate him. The reason is, if you talk of formal education, or the European education in West Africa, this man single-handedly promoted it here in Cape Coast. That is why if you come to Ghana and you say you are looking for the center of education in this country, most people will tell you, send your kids to Cape Coast because it has got most of the good schools in this nation. And it was all because of him. We have 3 Europeans. We have Letitia Elizabeth London, George MacLean, and C.B. Whitehead. But George and Letitia were husband and wife. George came in 1830 as a governor, and he died 1847 at the age of 46 of a confirmed malaria parasite, 17 years.